In every conflict, the moment of greatest vulnerability arrives not when an accusation is made, but when the accused feels compelled to speak. It is a reflex buried deep within social instinct. The urge to justify, to explain, to repair one's standing in the eyes of others. Words meant to protect instead place the speaker inside an invisible cage, unconstructed by the very person demanding those words. The trial begins the moment the defense begins. It starts before you realize it. The question cuts through the air, sharp and deliberate, and you feel the weight of eyes pressing against you. Your pulse quickens, your tongue shapes the alibi, and in that instant, the balance tilts. Defense is not protection. It is an admission that their judgment carries more weight than your own. The instant you accept that, you surrender the frame. Machiavelli warned that he who builds on the people builds on mud. And when your reputation rests on their approval, it shifts and collapses into whatever shape they choose. You try to reason, to dismantle their words piece by piece, but each answer cements their authority. They are not seeking truth. They are testing for weakness. Every explanation you give is proof that you are playing inside their arena, where the truth is irrelevant and only perception survives. The moment you speak on their terms, you are no longer the actor in your own story. You are the defendant in theirs. Power shifts when you refuse the role they have written for you. Let their words hang unanswered, heavy and unanswered, until they feel the weight of their own echo. Offer no validation. Show no need to clear your name. You are not here to meet their demands. You are here to make them question why they thought they could demand at all. The trap of self-defense is simple. They want you to react. The counter is simpler. Withdraw your reaction. The less you give them, the more they wonder. And the more they wonder, the more they fear. Across all societies, one pattern repeats without fail. The fear of social exile shapes behavior more than reason ever could. Survival once depended on the acceptance of the group, and rejection meant slow death. The instinct remains unchanged. Even in modern life, the slightest hint of disapproval triggers the same ancient urgency to be accepted again. That urgency is the pressure point skilled manipulators press. It is a fear buried so deeply that most never realize it's there until the moment it is used against them. It begins as a tightening in your chest when someone questions your motives, a creeping heat in your face when they twist your words. You feel the urge to fix the misunderstanding before it grows. You tell yourself it's about truth, about fairness, about setting the record straight. But it's not. What you are defending is belonging. The fear is older than language. It is a survival mechanism inherited from a time when being cast out of the tribe meant exposure to predators, starvation, and certain death. You are not responding to logic. You are obeying an ancient code that tells you to repair the bond at all costs. This is why Machiavelli observed that men forget more easily the death of their father than the loss of their inheritance. Because what is inherited is not only wealth, but position. And position, once lost, changes everything. Those who understand this weakness know they don't need facts to control you. They don't even need to be convincing. A vague accusation, an insinuation, or a well-timed question is enough. The power is not in the truth of their claim, but in the public tension it creates. They are counting on your discomfort to push you into speech, because once you respond, the balance shifts. You are no longer free to decide the terms of engagement. They are. You are reacting. You are explaining. You are already where they wanted you. The moment you start defending, you also start justifying why you deserve to be heard. This is the invisible shift most never notice. You believe you are clearing the air, but what you are actually doing is kneeling to the idea that their perception matters more than your own certainty. And once they see that, once they know they can provoke you into self-defense, they have leverage they can use at will. Every time you react, you reinforce the message that your sense of worth can be unsettled by their opinion. The reversal begins with restraint. You allow the words to land, but you do not chase them. You hear the insinuation, but you do not rush to correct it. You watch as their confidence falters when the expected reaction does not come. At first, they will mistake your silence for hesitation. Then the silence stretches. It grows heavy. It forces them to fill it with more words, more effort, more energy, until they begin defending themselves against their own attack. That is the pivot point. That is where the hunter becomes the hunted. This is the discipline that most will never master. To embrace the discomfort of being misunderstood and to hold it without the need to resolve it. Your calmness becomes its own weapon. It says without speaking, I am not here to win your approval. And that truth cuts deeper than any counter-argument you could make. They do not shout to gain dominance. They define the scene. Every confrontation is built on a silent struggle for the frame, the invisible lens through which all events are interpreted. The one who establishes it dictates what is real, what matters, and what is dismissed. The one who accepts it is trapped, their every move judged against rules they did not create. And this is where you fall without realizing it. You rush to defend yourself, believing truth is on your side. But the moment you explain, the moment you justify, you have already surrendered. You are no longer acting. You are reacting. Your opponent's story becomes the only stage that exists, and you are cast as the accused. You think you are clarifying facts, but you are proving them right to demand those facts at all. It's a cruel game because it feeds on your instincts. Humans crave fairness. You want to clear the misunderstanding, to remove the shadow they've placed over you. But every word you speak in defense keeps you inside their walls. You think you're breaking free, but the cage is built from the very struggle you are putting into it. Machiavelli understood this with chilling clarity when he advised rulers to accuse first and defend never, because the one who speaks first shapes the battlefield, and the one who defends fights on enemy ground. You've seen this tactic everywhere. A politician accused of corruption rarely answers the charge directly. Instead, they question the motives of the accuser, redefine the conversation, and force the public to debate their terms. A skilled manipulator doesn't care if the accusation is absurd. They only care that you respond. The moment you do, you grant them authority over you. By defending, you tell the world, yes, your accusation is worth my time. And here is the truth you avoid. Innocence is irrelevant once the frame is set. In a conflict of perception, perception itself is the weapon. You could be blameless, but if you step into their script, you are guilty in the only court that matters, the one they control. This is why those who truly hold power remain silent, or better yet, turn the spotlight back on their opponent. The tactic is simple, but it demands that you kill a reflex. When accused, do not defend, do not explain, do not dignify the frame. Instead, aim at its foundation. Ask, why do you believe that? Or, what makes you think I care to answer? The effect is surgical. You are no longer the defendant, scrambling for credibility. You are the judge questioning whether the trial should exist at all. In that moment, the frame collapses, and with it, their power to define you. Understand this. They do not want truth. They want positioning. Every accusation, every implication is bait, and most people take it, grateful for the chance to clear their name. That is why most people lose before the first blow is struck. The real game is not in what happened, but in who decides what happened means. If they decide, you lose. If you decide, they vanish. They believe power lies in the loudest voice, in the sharpest rebuttal, in the speed of their defense. But in truth, the battlefield is not won by volume. It is shaped by the space between words. Accusations, once spoken, hang in the air like hooks. Most rush to remove them, not realizing that grasping the hook only drives it deeper. It is here, in the pause, where control shifts without a single word spoken. You feel the weight of their expectation pressing against you, the demand for a response hanging like a blade at your throat. Your instinct screams to explain, to justify, to clean the stain they have thrown at you. But the moment you react, you step into their frame, where every move you make confirms their terms of engagement. Silence, however, breaks that frame. It is the refusal to step onto their battlefield, the quiet reminder that you do not owe them a war. The discomfort it causes is not yours. It is theirs. You watch them squirm in the absence of your defense, each second stretching longer than they expected, their certainty fraying at the edges. They will mistake your stillness for arrogance, mystery, or calculated contempt, and that uncertainty is a weapon sharper than anything you could say. As Machiavelli observed, never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. Silence is that deception. It is the illusion of passivity, masking the reality of dominance. When you do not defend, they are left to argue with the echo of their own accusations. They begin to repeat themselves, to fill the void with more words, each one diluting the potency of the first. The more they speak, the less certain they sound. And while they drown in their own voice, you remain untouched, still, composed, above it. In that stillness, the balance of power tilts. They are performing. You are observing. They are exposed. You are unreadable. But silence is not absence. It is a presence that demands attention. It forces the other person to confront themselves, to hear the hollowness of their argument without the distraction of your counterattack. This is why manipulators hate it. They thrive on your reaction, on the emotional energy you give them when you try to fight back. Take that away, and they are left with nothing but their own reflection, distorted and unflattering. Your stillness becomes a mirror they cannot bear to look into. The tactic is simple, but not easy. You let their words land. You let the air between you grow heavier. You pause longer than is comfortable. For them, not for you. And when the silence becomes unbearable, you shift. Either change the subject as if their accusation was too insignificant to address, or turn the question back onto them with calm precision. You are not hesitating. You are loading the weapon. Every second of your silence transfers the mental burden onto them. They must now guess what you are thinking, wonder what you will do next, and second-guess their own attack. The control they thought they had slips away with every heartbeat. They cannot read. This is not the absence of power. It is its purest form. You have not defended yourself, yet they feel as though they have already lost. There is a certain kind of confrontation that does not end with one person winning and the other losing, but with both walking away unsettled. In such moments, the initial aggressor feels a sudden, invisible shift, as if the ground beneath them has tilted. What began as a confident attack transforms into something uncertain. The accuser no longer feels like the predator. They feel watched, judged, questioned, and they do not know when or how the change occurred. You feel their words trying to pin you down, their tone laced with certainty, as if they have the authority to demand an explanation. That's the first mistake they make, assuming you accept their frame. You don't. You let their accusation hang in the air, heavy and unanswered, until the silence becomes a mirror they can't stop looking into. They came here expecting a fight, expecting you to defend, to explain, to claw your way back to dignity. But you know the truth. The moment you defend, you admit you're beneath them. So you don't defend. You tilt your head. You study them, not as an equal, but as a specimen revealing more with every word. Your calm presence is an unspoken challenge, and they feel it. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command, Machiavelli wrote. And command is not found in panic or denial. It's found in the stillness that forces others to move first. Your questions are slow, deliberate cuts. What exactly makes you so sure of that? Or, why does this matter to you so much? They expect you to sweat. Instead, you make them explain themselves. They shift in their seat. Their voice tightens. They begin reaching for details they thought they had, but now, under your gaze, seem less certain. This is the beauty of reversal. The attack they launched now burns in their own hands. You haven't raised your voice. You haven't made a single claim, yet they're scrambling for proof that no longer feels solid. The burden of the conversation has silently moved from your shoulders to theirs, and the more they try to justify, the more defensive they appear. You see the calculation in their eyes now. They're realizing that in defending themselves, they're also exposing themselves. Every explanation sounds weaker than the last. Every attempt at control slips further away. You haven't fought them. You've simply refused to play their game, and instead made them play yours. This is how the hunter becomes the hunted. Not through aggression, but through the slow suffocation of certainty. In this silence, you understand the real tactic. The goal is never to clear your name. It is to make their question irrelevant. You do this by making them question their own authority to even ask it. A predator does not need to prove it is dangerous. It simply behaves as if it already is. And in your stillness, they see their own position eroding. By the time they realize they've lost control, they're already trapped in the frame you built around them. They have seen this pattern for centuries. The more a man defends himself, the smaller he becomes. In courts, in markets, in palaces, it is always the same. The accused speaks, the crowd listens, and in the act of explaining, his power drains away. Words meant to clear his name instead confirm that his name is fragile enough to require rescue. Those who are truly untouchable never rush to justify. They let the world speak for them. You feel the pressure, like a noose tightening. The urge to explain, to correct, to clear the air before the stain spreads too far. Your heartbeat quickens, not because you are guilty, but because you fear the slow corrosion of rumor. And yet, every word you consider saying feels like kneeling. The moment you try to defend yourself, you become the defendant in their eyes. It does not matter whether the charges are true. It matters that you have accepted the court of public opinion as your master. Your enemies know this. They feed you poison through implication, counting on your desperation to spit it back out. But the poison works not when swallowed. It works when you open your mouth. The more you insist on your innocence, the more they see a man who can be baited into a public struggle for his own image. Machiavelli wrote that the great majority are so bound by appearances and so caught up in the outcome of events that they will always be taken in by the way things seem. Understand the weight of that sentence. Once you start talking, you are no longer controlling the way things seem. You think silence is passive. It is not. It is an active shaping of perception. Every quiet moment forces others to decide for themselves whether you are too confident to care or too strong to be touched. In truth, both serve you. The human mind craves certainty, and when you refuse to supply it, they construct it themselves, often in your favor, because to believe you are powerful costs them less than believing you are weak. The tactic is not to win in the moment, but to build a fortress no accusation can breach. That fortress is made of patterns, consistency of action, unflappable calm, alliances that speak for you without being asked. Over time, these become your reputation's architecture. When the attack comes, and it will, you do nothing. You keep walking. You keep commanding. You keep acting as if no shadow has touched you. Your enemies will scream for a reaction, but your absence from the fight will make their noise seem smaller, even desperate. Never defend yourself in the heat of accusation. Defend yourself in the years before it by living in a way that makes your word unnecessary. When the storm breaks, the man who does not raise his voice will always stand taller than the one shouting to be believed. And in that stillness, you do not just keep your reputation, you own theirs. They watch, they test, they prod. Every word, every glance, every subtle shift in tone is a probe for weakness. When they find one, they press harder. Not because the attack itself matters, but because your reaction becomes their leverage. In this game, the most dangerous player is the one who cannot be moved, no matter the strike. You have felt it before. That urge to correct them, to clear your name, to make them see the truth. It burns inside you like a fever, the need to speak. But the moment you open your mouth to defend yourself, you shift the balance. You stop being the silent, unshakable figure they must reckon with and become a participant in their theater. They have baited you into playing their game, and the rules were never written for you to win. The truth is, accusations are not made to uncover reality. They are made to force you into reaction. The more you explain, the more you appear guilty, the more you justify, the more they see an opening. Machiavelli warned that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both, because fear thrives on distance. Distance makes you untouchable, and in silence, you project something far more dangerous than innocence. You project indifference. That is the state you must reach, where no insult can provoke you, no rumor can shift you, no accusation can draw you into reply. You do not exist on their battlefield anymore. You have risen above it, operating on a level they cannot touch. Your worth is measured only by your own scale, your value set by forces they cannot influence. The moment you stop defending, you stop living in their world. And when they realize they cannot pull you back into it, their power over you evaporates. Every time you resist the impulse to defend, you build something inside yourself, a fortress not made of walls, but of absence. An absence of reaction, of need, of desperation to be understood. You become an unmoved object in a world addicted to movement. And when they hurl their accusations into the void, they hear only the echo of their own weakness. That is when you have won.